So in terms of preventing, the classic, I'm just going to do it really quickly because I've done it every time I've come. Lifestyle is so important. So exercising every day is a great way to get outdoors, especially if you do it with a friend, and not CrossFit, but cross-train. So you're doing different activities, challenging your body in different ways. It can't be overstated how important sleep is, and so getting up in the morning, going to bed at night, critical. Healthy eating is a big deal, and there are some links suggesting that the processed food, sort of horrible diet that a lot of us have, could be linked associated with anxiety and depression, and it's separate from the lack of healthy food. There's something actually in our food, water, and air that may be contributing to these higher. And then besides sleep, exercise, nutrition, and we talked about mindfulness earlier. The other is how we handle communicating with people. One thing I did last year, which I thought was really helpful, it was a very stressful year for me, was compassion training. And I don't know how much you've know that, but there's a lot out there right now with empathy and compassion. And when we talk about empathy, I mean the ability to step into another person's shoes and kind of see the world through their eyes. And by compassion, it's being able to feel their suffering and want to help that. And so when you're taking this compassion-based training course that I did, the first part of it was actually learning to be compassionate towards yourself. And it's really critical in terms of improving your own resiliency and reducing your level of burnout. And it has that long-term impact of reducing rates of your likelihood of becoming depressed or anxious. One of the things they do in the initial modules is have a moment of nurturing where you remember this moment in your time, a memory of when you felt safe and secure. And we all have these moments in our past that were markers of being upset or, really big mistakes or sad. It's less frequently that we remember the happiest moments. And so this puts you in a mindset where you can open up to that. And that's something I encourage people to do, is think about those safe, happy times and try to pull that in. And then when you're doing some mindfulness training, taking deep breaths, counting 1 to 10, doing yoga, reach into that moment and really and grab it. The next piece is then understanding how everybody around us is really more like us than different. And that keeps us more connected with people. So that person that might irritate you or that is challenging during work meetings, or you feel like they're out to get you on, team projects and they're showing up, all of that kind of stuff. It's easier to look at an individual and say, hey, at the end of the day, we all want to go home to our happy family. And we want to be able to provide for them. At the end of the day, we want our company to be successful so that our job security is there and we have a product that we're proud of. When you start looking at that, it's easier to let go of these feelings of stress that can lead to worsening of mental illness and really be more compassionate with our communications.
Okay, so 2 things came to mind as you were talking. First was an observation, and then I'll give my question. So my observation was, I'm better at this, giving compassion to others, when I'm feeling rested.
Yes.
When I'm tired and a little bit worn out, I'm not as compassionate to the driver that just cut me off on the road.
Exactly.
So I think there's it's almost this, it's a little bit of a cyclical both and kind of thing. We've got to take care of our health and physical health.
When they tell you to put the mask on first and then help your child,
yep,
that person beside you, it's the same idea. There's quite a few excellent researchers out there studying empathy and compassion, and the conclusions are the same. When you take care of yourself and you're kind back to yourself and you're compassionate towards yourself, it's easier to feel that way to others, and things fall into place.
Then that sets up my question. Why is it so hard for us to be compassionate to ourselves?
Wow, that's $1 million question.
Isn't that the big question? Because I can speak for myself and everyone else I talk to. We tend to not give ourselves a lot of slack or the breaks that we need to, because we kind of push ourselves a little bit harder. We're just not as compassionate to ourselves as I can find myself being more compassionate to someone else than myself. So I'm curious to any thoughts you got on that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure really why we're like that, why we're wired to push ourselves more and ask more of ourselves and not be as easy on ourselves. I know sometimes in families, and I think leaders and work teams, we can project that onto the others around us, where we might expect employees to do more than what really maybe they need to be doing, and we can speak to our children in a way that we wouldn't speak to anyone else, or at least we think we aren't. And so it is important to recognize that it's not fair to ourselves, and we better be careful, because there's an unconscious bias when we may be projecting that to other people. When we're not kind to ourselves, they others know it, and they are concerned about, what we're really thinking about them in return.
Yeah. I will say, in my just general life observations, the folks that seem to do that the best, that are able to give themselves compassion and kind of know what they need and move with that knowledge, tend to be the folks either at or over retirement age.
That's a little late.
I know, but they're seen. So I don't know if there's a life wisdom that's part of this. I don't know if there's a kind of a just letting go of ambition is part of this. I don't know if there's a chemical change because of testosterone levels that's part of this. I'm not exactly sure, but it just seems like the people that I feel like have mastered this tend to be kind of in that season of life.
I do think that it's something similar to a muscle that needs to be exercised and trained, and you do need to be conscious about it, so that in the work environment, creating a welcoming atmosphere where your employees feel like they can come talk to you about their stressors, and that they know that you'll be open to that conversation on how to make the end project get done, but in a way that's humanistic and fair. And we owe it to ourselves to make sure our home culture and our work culture supports all of that. And some of the things are simple fixes. Some are more complicated, but making sure your team takes the vacations that they're allotted, that's a big deal, so people can go out, get rested, and come back. When you're on a heavy project with lots of deadlines, maybe it's time to bring in a healthy takeout, because everybody's too stressed to go get a proper lunch, and they'll probably just eat snacks. At the end of that long day, figure out who can go home and put their out of office message on and not check their phone and their computer. So these types of things build that culture where we can avoid worsening of stress that can lead to these mental health concerns we don't want to happen.